The battlefield was silent after the storm of gunfire, but the silence was not peace. It was heavy, filled with smoke and broken machines that still burned in the distance. A single figure moved among the wreckage, a human soldier, his armor cracked, his breathing heavy, his left arm hanging at a strange angle. The alien woman watched from the shadows, her eyes wide with fear and curiosity. She was not supposed to be here. She was only a scientist, sent to record data about this human experiment, yet she could not stop watching. She had seen many soldiers from her own kind fall in battle. When bones snapped, they stayed broken. When flesh tore, it meant weakness, and weakness meant death. But this human was different. He stopped walking, leaned against a ruined wall, and stared at his broken arm. The alien woman expected him to collapse, to scream in pain, to beg for help. Instead, he did something that made her gasp. With a sharp movement, he grabbed his arm and snapped the bone back into place. The sound echoed like a whip crack in the smoke-filled air. The alien woman's mouth opened in shock, her voice barely a whisper. You broke it again." The human glanced at her, sweat dripping from his face, his eyes dark with focus. "I heal by breaking," he said in a calm voice. Then he pushed the arm, testing it as if the pain was only fuel. She stepped back, fear crawling over her skin. "That is impossible," she said. "Your kind should not survive this. Your bodies are too soft, too fragile." The human smirked, his lips twisting as if the suffering gave him strength. "Fragile?" He said, "No, we evolve every time we break." The alien woman did not understand. Her own kind believed in stability. They built machines to protect their bodies. They grew in strength only through training and years of discipline. But this man, this human, turned injury into growth. She had seen his muscles already twitch with strange energy, the broken bone settling not just in place, but stronger, as if the act of pain was forging steel inside his body. The battlefield shifted. Sounds of distant enemies crawling closer, shadows moving in the smoke. The alien woman knew they had little time. "You must hide," she whispered. "Others will come. They will kill you." The human shook his head, flexing his arm. The bone was still raw, but his movements were sharper. "No hiding," he said. "Every fight is a lesson. Every wound is a teacher." The alien woman's heart raced. She was trained to record, not interfere. Yet something inside her told her this was not just science. This was survival beyond her understanding. She followed him as he walked forward, step after step, each foot crushing burnt metal, each breath filled with smoke. She wondered, how many times could he break before there was nothing left of him? Sound cut through the air. A drone, alien in design, its glowing eyes locked on them, its weapons ready. The alien woman froze, but the human only smiled. He picked up a broken piece of steel from the ground, his arm still shaking from the fracture, yet his grip was firm. The drone fired, the ground exploded, and the human threw himself into the blast. The alien woman screamed. She thought he would die. No flesh could survive that fire. But when the smoke cleared, the human stood again. His skin burned, his armor cracked, his body bleeding, and yet he grinned. He looked stronger, his eyes burning with a fire she had never seen before. "See?" he said, voice hoarse but steady. "Every time I fall, I rise harder." The alien woman's breath caught in her throat, her mind racing. If one human could do this, what would happen if many existed? What would happen if an army of such creatures learned to turn pain into power? For the first time, she felt something dangerous, not fear of him, but fear of what he represented. The human limped forward, raising the steel shard like a sword, his broken arm no longer a weakness, but a weapon reforged in agony. The drone circled again, but his movements were faster, sharper. He struck, the shard tearing through circuits. The machine crashed to the ground, sparking until it died. The alien woman stepped closer, her voice trembling. "What are you?" she asked. He looked at her, his face bloody, his arm raw, but his smile unbroken. "I am human," he said. And we do not stop, we evolve every time we break. The silence of the battlefield returned, but it was no longer empty, it was filled with the weight of his words, and the alien woman knew this was only the beginning. The alien woman followed the human through the ruins, her steps soft, her mind heavy with questions. Smoke curled in the air, carrying the scent of burned metal and blood. Every shadow seemed alive, yet her eyes never left him. He walked with wounds that should have killed him. His arms swollen, his skin torn, yet his stride was steady, confident. As if pain was a companion and not an enemy, she whispered to herself in disbelief. How can he still move? How can he still fight? Her own people were fragile in comparison. If they broke a bone, they needed weeks inside healing chambers. If their skin burned, they relied on medicine and machines. But this human, this strange creature, seemed to heal by force, by will, by something deeper. Fear gripped her chest, not the fear of him attacking her, but of what he represented. He was proof that weakness in his kind was not weakness at all. It was evolution waiting to happen. If one man could break and grow stronger, what would an army of them become? What would her world face if humans spread across the stars? The human glanced back at her, his eyes sharp even through the haze. Why do you follow me? He asked, his voice low but steady. She froze, words stumbling on her lips. I must observe, it is my duty, she said. The council ordered me to study your kind, to record how you survive. His smile was faint, tired yet knowing. Study all you want, he said, but you will never understand until you break yourself. Her chest tightened at his words. For her kind, breaking meant death. There was no glory in pain, only shame, no lesson in scars, only fear. They passed through broken towers of steel, fire glowing like dying suns in the distance. The human kept moving, scanning the horizon. Every sound made his muscles tense. Alien woman realized something. He did not move like prey, even when wounded. He moved like a predator, like someone expecting the next strike and ready to answer with more strength. Does it not hurt? She asked suddenly, her voice trembling. It hurts. He answered without hesitation. But hurt is not the end. Hurt is the forge. She shook her head. Pain destroys, it makes us weaker. Not me, he said, his eyes glinting. Every cut, every bone, every breath of fire, it builds me. The alien woman stopped walking, her heart pounding. She had spent her life believing her people were superior. They had conquered worlds with machines and armies. They called humans fragile, soft, temporary. Yet here stood proof of something else. Perhaps her people were wrong. Perhaps humans were not fragile at all. Perhaps they were the most dangerous of all, because they refused to stay broken. Suddenly, the ground shook, a rumble beneath their feet. Machines rising from the smoke. Alien hunters sent by the council. Their weapons glowing, their eyes locked on the human. The alien woman gasped. She knew what was coming. Run, she whispered. They will kill you. But the human did not run. He stood firm, his broken body straightening, his arm trembling, yet steady. Let them come, he said, his voice sharp like steel. 3 hunters moved forward, their steps heavy, their weapons humming. They fired energy bolts, fire tearing through the ruins. The human dived, rolling across rubble, his movements faster than before. The alien woman's breath caught. She watched as he rose, his arms snapping again from the force of impact, and, with another sharp motion, he reset it with his own hand. The sound made her flinch, but instead of falling, he looked stronger, his eyes brighter, his muscles tense like cords of iron. He attacked with nothing but broken steel in his hand, his strikes wild yet precise. One hunter fell with a scream of sparks. Another staggered as his weapon was ripped away. The third aimed for his chest. The alien woman shouted, "Stop, you will die." But the human only roared, his body moving faster with every wound, every burn, every crack of bone. The hunters fell, their machines broken on the ground. Silence followed once more. The battlefield breathing smoke and ash. The human stood above them, chest heaving, blood dripping, yet his face carried that same unshakable smile. He turned to her, his voice steady. "Do you see now?" She stared at him, her throat dry, her mind spinning. You are not just healing, you are changing. Every break," he said, "is a step forward. Every scar is a map of where I have been and where I will go." Her heart raced, fear twisting with something else, admiration she wanted to deny. It wanted to cling to her people's teachings, but she could not. The truth was clear. This human was not fragile. He was dangerous, unstoppable, a living answer to the universe's cruelty. She lowered her gaze, whispering to herself, "If the council sees what I have seen, they will fear you more than I do." The human tilted his head, his eyes narrowing. "Then let them fear," he said, his tone dark but calm. "Fear makes them weak. Pain makes me stronger." For the first time, she realized something terrible. The war was not about weapons, not about machines. It was about who could endure. And the humans were not just enduring, they were evolving. And as she followed him deeper into the ruins, her fear grew, not of the next battle, but of the truth. If humans were born to rise from every fracture, then no empire could ever keep them down. The ruins stretched into darkness, broken towers leaning like skeletons of forgotten giants. The human walked forward, every step heavy with pain yet filled with strength. The alien woman followed, her thoughts twisted with fear and wonder. She had never seen anyone fight the way he did. Her people believed that injury was the end, but he treated every wound as a beginning, every scar as a new chapter. The night deepened, cold winds sweeping through hollow streets. His breathing was rough, his armor torn, blood dripping down his arm, yet his eyes burned with fire. The alien woman whispered, "You should rest. Your body cannot hold for long." He turned his head slightly, his lips curling into that strange smile. "Rest comes after the lesson is learned," he said. "The body only grows when it is tested." Her heart trembled. She could not understand how he could treat suffering as a teacher. Her people ran from pain, avoided it with every machine and every drug, yet he hunted it like prey. She asked softly, "Do you not fear death?" He paused, his shadow long against the firelight of the ruins. "Fear is useless," he said. "Death is only the moment you stop learning." They moved deeper into the ruins, and soon the silence broke. Shadows emerged, strange beasts born of the war, metal fused with flesh, their eyes glowing red, their claws scraping against stone. The alien woman gasped, "They are scavengers. They will tear you apart." The human clenched his jaw, gripping the steel shard tighter. "Then I will learn from them," he said. The creatures lunged, fast, brutal, their claws slicing the air. The human fought with wild strength, every strike of his shard sending sparks into the night. But the beasts were many. Their teeth sank into his arm. His ribs cracked under their weight. The alien woman screamed, "You cannot win." But the human only growled, snapping his broken ribs back into place with one harsh motion. The sound made her blood freeze, yet when he stood again, he moved even faster, his eyes sharper, his strikes more powerful. One by one, the beasts fell, torn apart by his relentless fury, his body bleeding, his armor shattered. Yet his movements became smoother, as if pain had carved precision into his muscles. The last beast screeched before his blade tore through its chest, its body collapsing. In sparks and blood, silence returned once more. The alien woman stared at him, her voice shaking. "Every battle. You grow faster, you grow harder." He looked at his hands, trembling but strong. "Every battle teaches me something new," he said. "Every break makes me harder to break again." She took a step closer, her fear mixed with awe. "This is not healing," she whispered. "This is becoming something else." He turned to her, his face lit by fire. "This is what it means to be human," he said. The words shook her deeper than any weapon could. She had always believed humans were fragile creatures, easy to control, yet now she saw the truth. They were the opposite. They were the answer to suffering itself. If her council learned this secret, they would not just fear him, they would fear all of his kind. As they walked further, she noticed the changes in him, his posture taller, his eyes clearer, his wounds closing faster, his breath steadier. She whispered, almost to herself, "You should not exist." He glanced at her, his voice low, "And yet I do." The ruins grew quiet again, the stars above watching like silent witnesses. The alien woman felt her chest tighten, because she knew this was not the end of his evolution. It was only the beginning. Every wound made him stronger. Every scar told a story, and with each step he was no longer just a man. He was becoming something more, something her people could never be, and in her heart, she feared what that meant for the future, because if one human could change like this, then humanity itself was a storm waiting to rise. The ruins finally opened into a wide valley, broken ships scattered like bones. The air was colder here, the stars shining above like endless eyes. The human stood at the edge, breathing heavily, his body covered in wounds that refused to weaken him. The alien woman followed in silence, her mind burning with questions. She had seen him break and rise, seen him bleed and grow, and now she knew she carried something heavier than fear, knowledge that could change her entire world. Her people had always called humans weak, soft, unfit for survival beyond their homeworld, but what she saw proved the opposite. Weakness was only the beginning of their strength. Pain was only their path to power, she whispered to herself. If the council learns this truth, they will never let him live. The human turned, his eyes sharp. "You speak of your council often," he said, his voice low. "They watch us." She lowered her gaze, guilt flickering in her heart. "Yes," she admitted. "They sent me to observe you, to record your limits, to find out why your kind does not die as quickly as they expected." His smile was faint but dangerous. "And what will you tell them?" Her throat tightened. She could not answer, because the truth was too heavy. If she told them he healed by breaking, if she told them he evolved through pain, the council would fear humanity. They would act. And they would act with violence. Finally, she whispered, "I do not know." The human stepped closer, his presence heavy like fire. "Then I will tell you what to say," he said. "Tell them we are fragile. Tell them we bleed. Tell them we are weak." She frowned, confused. "Why hide your strength?" He looked at the stars, his face hard. "Because fear spreads faster than truth," he said. "Let them think we are fragile while we grow in the shadows." Before she could reply, the ground trembled. A sound of engines echoing across the valley. Dark shapes rose from the distance. Ships marked with the crest of her people. Their hunters had come. The alien woman gasped. "They are here already." The human clenched his fists, his wounds still fresh, yet his eyes burning. "Good," he said. "Every fight is another lesson." The ships landed, their ramps opening. Warriors marching out in rows, their weapons glowing, their armor shining under the stars. The alien woman's heart pounded. She had seen these soldiers before. They were executioners, trained to erase threats before they could rise. And now they looked at the human as if he was already marked for death. Their leader stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Creature of Earth," he said, "you should not have survived this long. Today your experiment ends." The human tilted his head, a grin on his bloody lips. "Experiment," he said. "No, this is just the beginning." The alien woman wanted to scream, wanted to beg the council soldiers to stop, but her voice died in her throat. She knew nothing she said would change their orders. They did not want to study him anymore. They wanted him destroyed. The soldiers raised their weapons, beams of energy filling the night. The alien woman covered her ears as light and fire rained across the valley, explosions shaking the ground. When the smoke cleared, she expected silence. She expected to see the human broken at last, but instead he stood among the flames. His body burned, his bones cracked, yet his presence stronger than ever. He had used the fire against itself, letting it tear him apart only to rebuild him harder. His movements were slower but more precise. His eyes darker, colder. One soldier gasped. He should be dead. The human stepped forward, dragging his steel shard. "Every time you try to kill me," he said, "you are teaching me how to live." The alien woman's chest tightened. She realized this was the warning she feared. It was no longer about him alone. It was about what his kind could become. She whispered under her breath, "If humanity learns to rise like you, no empire can stop them." And for the first time, she felt the weight of her choice. She could betray him to her council, or she could help him. But either way, the stars would never be the same again. The valley was silent again after the fight. Broken soldiers and burning machines scattered across the ground. The alien woman stood frozen, her chest tight, her eyes locked on the human. He was still standing, blood dripping from his body, his armor shattered, yet his spirit unbroken. Every wound had made him stronger. Every fracture had sharpened his resolve. She whispered, almost trembling, "You cannot keep fighting like this. They will send more. They will never stop." The human's lips curled into a faint smile. "Then neither will I," he said. "Every battle is a lesson, every death a teacher." But her heart was torn, because she knew what the council had commanded her. She was not only an observer, she was their key, their tool, the one who would guide the soldiers to him when the time came, and that time was now, all around them. More shadows moved, silent shapes stepping out from behind the rocks, soldiers with weapons raised, their armor black with the crest of the High Council. The alien woman gasped, her breath catching. She had not warned him. She had not told him that she had already sent the signal, long before she even understood what he truly was, the human's eyes narrowed, scanning the circle of enemies that now trapped them. His grip tightened on the steel shard in his hand. "So this is how it is," he said. The alien woman lowered her head, shame burning in her chest. I had no choice," she whispered. "They ordered me. They will kill me if I disobey." His eyes met hers, steady, calm even in betrayal. "Choice always exists," he said, his voice like stone. "But fear makes you blind to it." Tears pricked her eyes, because he was right. She had chosen fear, and now he would pay the price. The soldiers rushed forward, their energy whips crackling. The human roared and fought, his broken body moving with savage strength. He struck them down, one after another, his bones cracking, resetting, cracking again. Every wound made him fiercer. Every hit turned into fuel, but there were too many. Their weapons bound him in light, their chains tightening, dragging him to his knees. The alien woman cried out, "Stop, you will kill him," but the commander only sneered. "That is the point." The human spat blood, his grin defiant. "Chains break," he said, straining against the bindings. "Every chain teaches me how to tear through stronger ones." The commander slammed a boot into his chest, pressing him to the ground. "You are not a warrior," he said. "You are an animal, and we will cage you until you stop breathing." The human laughed, a low sound even through his pain. "Then cage me well," he said, "because I will rise from inside it." They dragged him across the ground, locking his wrists in heavy metal cuffs, chains forged from alien alloys said to be unbreakable. The alien woman followed, her steps weak, guilt flooding her. She had betrayed him, yet she could not stop watching. She could not stop fearing what would come next. The council's ship waited at the edge of the valley, a towering black vessel that swallowed all light. They threw him inside, locking him. In a chamber of shadows and steel, the commander turned to her. "You have done well," he said coldly. "Your duty is complete. You will deliver your report to the council." But her heart was heavy, her voice broken. "And what will they do with him?" The commander's eyes narrowed. "They will study him until he is nothing but dust, or they will erase him if he refuses to break." Her chest ached, because she knew something the commander did not. The human never refused to break. He embraced it, he fed on it. And if they tried to destroy him, They would only teach him how to rise again, stronger than before. As the ship rose into the sky, the alien woman stood at the window, watching the human chained inside the dark cell, his head bowed but his eyes burning like fire through the shadows. She whispered, "Forgive me," though she knew forgiveness was something she might never earn. And in that silence, the human's voice carried across the chamber. Low but steady. "Do not fear for me," he said, his words sharp as blades. "Fear for what I will become." Her heart froze, because in that moment she believed him. The chamber was cold and silent, metal walls humming with the ship's engines. The human sat chained in the center, his arms locked above his head, his legs bound to the floor, the cuffs glowing with energy meant to weaken any prisoner. But instead of fear, instead of despair, he closed his eyes and smiled. The alien woman stood behind the glass, her chest heavy, watching him. Soldiers moved around the room, checking monitors, recording his heart rate, his body heat, his blood flow, every number climbing when it should have been falling. His body should be collapsing, one of the scientists muttered. "The pain levels are impossible," another shook his head. "No, look closer. The stress does not weaken him, it feeds him." She pressed her hands against the glass, whispering to herself, "What are you becoming?" Inside the chamber, the human pulled at the chains, not to escape, but to feel the resistance, every pull tearing his skin, every burn from the energy cuffs cutting into his flesh. Yet his body adjusted, his muscles hardened. He whispered to himself, voice calm. "Every chain is a teacher." The commander entered, his armor shining, his voice sharp. "Break him," he ordered. "Push him until he begs for death." The soldiers obeyed, machines powered on. Waves of energy coursed through the human's body, his bones cracked, his skin blistered, his breath caught in his throat. The alien woman turned away, unable to watch, but she could still hear his voice through the speakers, a voice that refused to scream. Instead, he laughed. Low and broken. "Do you not understand?" he said. "You are helping me." Hours turned into days. The torture never stopped, yet something strange happened. His wounds closed faster. His breathing steadied. His body grew stronger under the constant torment. The scientists whispered in fear. "He adapts, every strike, every burn." "It only builds him higher," the commander snarled, refusing to believe. "No creature can evolve this quickly." But the alien woman knew the truth. She had seen it from the start. Pain was not his end. Pain was his forge. One night, the ship shook from turbulence. The lights flickered, and for a moment the chamber dimmed. The energy cuffs weakened. The human lifted his head, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The alien woman gasped, because those eyes were not the same as before. They burned with something beyond human, something born from endless breaking and rebuilding. He pulled at the chains again. This time they bent, groaning under the strain. A guard shouted, "Impossible, the alloy cannot break." But the human's grin widened. "Every alloy has a limit, and pain shows me how to find it." The chains snapped, sparks flying, alarms screaming. The chamber filled with red light. Soldiers rushed in, weapons raised. But the human moved like lightning. His body carried scars, but those scars had shaped him. His strikes were faster, his grip unbreakable. He tore weapons away and crushed them with his bare hands. Every blow from the soldiers only fueled him. Every cut closed in seconds. Every burn hardened his skin further. The alien woman pressed against the glass, her heart racing. She should have felt terror, but instead she felt awe. He was no longer fighting to survive. He was fighting as if survival was already guaranteed. Every move precise, every strike final. One soldier screamed before his weapon was snapped in two. Another fell as the human's fist crushed his helmet. The commander entered with fury, striking. With his blade of light, the human blocked it with his bare arm, the burn searing deep into his flesh. Yet instead of falling, he pushed forward, the light dimming against his strength. The commander's eyes widened. "What are you?" he shouted. The human's voice was steady, his grin sharp. I am what you made me, he said. Pain is your weapon, but pain is my gift. The alien woman's breath caught in her throat. She realized the truth. They had not captured him, they had forged him. The chamber shook as the fight raged, alarms blaring across the ship. Soldiers falling one after another until only silence remained. The human stood in the wreckage, blood dripping, chains hanging loose from his wrists, but his body stronger than ever, his presence heavier, his eyes darker. He turned toward the glass where she stood, their eyes locking. Her voice trembled. You escaped. He shook his head, his tone calm. No, he said. I evolved. Asterisk. The ship was in chaos. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the corridors. Sparks rained from broken panels. Soldiers lay scattered where they had fallen, some unconscious, others too afraid to rise again. At the center of it all stood the human, chains still hanging from his wrists, his body covered in scars that glowed faintly like fire forged into flesh, his breathing steady, his eyes burning with something more than survival. The alien woman stepped out from behind the shattered glass. Her legs weak, her heart pounding. She had watched every moment, every fracture, every scar, and now she faced something that was no longer just a man. She whispered, trembling, "You are not the same as before." The human turned, his voice calm. "I was never meant to stay the same," he said. "Every break changes me. Every wound rewrites me." Soldiers regrouped at the far end of the corridor, weapons raised, but they hesitated because they had seen what happened to the last squad. They had seen pain turn him into something unstoppable. The commander shouted, his voice cracking with fury and fear. "Kill him! He must not leave this ship." But no one moved. Their hands shook. Their eyes flicked between their leader and the man who stood unbroken in the fire. The alien woman felt the weight of choice pressing down on her again. Her people had sent her to betray him. But now betrayal felt meaningless. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "If you kill him, you will only make him stronger." The commander snarled at her. "Silence, you forget your place." But the human stepped forward, the chains dragging against the floor like thunder. "No," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "She is right. Every attempt to break me has only built me. You forged the very thing you feared." He raised his head toward the commander, his eyes glowing faintly. "You wanted a weak human. But weakness is our illusion. Suffering is our truth." The commander slashed with his blade of light. The human caught it with his bare hands, the searing burn cutting into his palms. Yet instead of falling, he twisted. The blade shattered. Like glass, the commander staggered back, eyes wide. "This is impossible." The human's smile was cold. "Nothing is impossible when pain is your teacher." The remaining soldiers dropped their weapons, their fear breaking their will. Some fled, some dropped to their knees. The commander tried to rally them, but his voice was drowned out by silence. The alien woman stared at the human, her voice soft. "What are you now?" He turned toward her, his eyes softer when they met hers. "I am human," he said, "but not as you understood. We are not strong because we are unbroken. We are strong because we break and rise again." The words sank into her heart like fire. She had feared him once, then betrayed him. But now she saw him clearly, not as a monster, not as prey, but as something her people could never be. She whispered, "If your kind learns this truth, no empire will survive." He looked past her, at the stars shining through the broken hull of the ship, his voice steady. "Empires fall, chains rust, walls crumble, but humans, we endure. And every time we suffer, we evolve." The alien woman shivered, because in his words she heard more than a threat. She heard prophecy. The ship groaned as it began to break apart, systems failing, explosions rocking the corridors. The human reached for her, his hand strong even through the blood and scars. "Come," he said, "you can still choose." Her chest tightened. "Choose what?" she whispered. "To stand with fear," he said, "or to walk with me." She placed her hand in his, and together they moved through the collapsing ship. Soldiers too terrified to stop them, fire lighting their path, chains dragging behind him like echoes of every lesson he had learned. As they reached the escape bay, the human paused, turning back one last time, his eyes locking on the commander who still knelt in disbelief. The human's voice was low, final. "Tell your council," he said. "Tell them humans do not heal by avoiding pain. We heal by breaking, and every time we break, we rise stronger." The escape craft roared into the night, leaving the burning ship behind. The alien woman looked at him, her voice unsteady. "What will you do now?" He stared at the stars, his scars glowing faintly like fire etched into flesh. "I will keep walking," he said, "because the universe has not yet taught me all its lessons." And as the stars stretched before them, the alien woman realized the truth. Humanity was not fragile, not weak, not temporary. Humanity was endless, because pain itself was endless, and with that endless pain came endless evolution.